Good morning. So happy to be here this morning. So I'm just finding that it is a gift to actually be here with you this morning. And I just want to honor the fact that you did come this morning, got up early, went through traffic, because your presence always matters no matter where you show up. And so I just want to honor the fact that you all did that this morning. So I thought I would start out with just a quick little story. So I do have a history. I also am an ordained pastor, and the story comes from a time that I was an ordained pastor in a little rural church in eastern Colorado. So we have a lot of farmer families in that church. They grew wheat, they grew corn, they grew all kinds of good stuff. And there was a gentleman once that as he grew older, I will call him John for the sake of our story, but he'd been a farmer all of his life. And he loved farming. It was so important to him, and it was so part of who he was. And he came to me one day as he was growing older, and he was finding that it was really difficult to do the farming like he used to. Like he used to get up really early in the morning, go out, do some of the farming, come in, have breakfast, go back out. And he was really distressed by the fact that he was unable to do that like he used to. And he said to me, he said, Denise, he said, I just don't know what I'm going to do if I can't farm. I don't know what's going to happen to me. And so we got a chance to talk a little bit about that. And we talked a little bit about what was so special about farming. What was his favorite part of farming? And he started to talk about how it was a way of spending time with his children and now his grandchildren, teaching them the ways of the farm, teaching them how to care for the animals he had on his farm, teaching them about the nature and the creation about, all around him. And that's what was really making him happy. And so we talked a little bit about how do you do that if your physical self isn't able to do all the work anymore? Because I could hear that what was his problem, or what was he thinking his problem was, is that he wasn't going to have connection like he used to. So we talked a lot about that, and we really recognized that there were three things that were really important to him in life. Faith for him was a big one, but this connection of family and friends was another one, and that was something he needed in order to still feel like there was purpose in life. So that was a great thing to really recognize the fact that there are these values that he had that really were ingrained in his whole life story, and to find an opportunity and a way to still have those, given the fact that he couldn't farm the way that he used to. So he did take time, right? And he would take a different time, and he could still walk his land. He could still take those little grandkids with him and go out to see the new lambs that just were born. He could still show them the farm that was, really important to him. And he could introduce them to now the workers that he had hired to work his farmland. And he was a lot happier then. He was really distraught by the fact that he didn't think that he had any meaning and purpose anymore. But it was really important to find out the underlying values and beliefs. So that's kind of what I want to talk about this morning for just a minute, is capturing our meaning and our purpose in life by really recognizing our values and beliefs that we might have. I think every one of us in our life wants to matter, right? We all want to matter, right? Whatever we do, whoever we're with, we want to matter to people. And that doesn't go away as we age. In fact, as we age, it becomes more important. So we want to honor the fact that as our loved ones age, those of you who care for loved ones, those who work with people as they age, we want to recognize the fact that it is really important that we find meaning and purpose for them in their lives. It's extremely important. So that's a little bit about what I want to talk about. We have a lot of issues, right? As people grow older, they have health issues. They might have some mobility issues, right? They might have more financial issues. They might have not so many connections anymore. Some of our speakers already have talked about those connections are really important, those relationships. So as we age, we come across these things that seem to impact our lives pretty significantly. And how do we then still find meaning and purpose in our life to still have meaning and purpose, right? So really, really important. And caregivers, I want to specifically talk to you, those who caregive for people. Oftentimes, you're putting your life on hold, right, to take care of your loved one. And those of you who work in an industry that takes care of older Americans, you're also spending a lot of your time, energy, and things like that taking care of them, and there's not a lot left over at the end of the day. So it's really important for you to have meaning and purpose and to be reminded about what that might be. Why do you do the work you do? Why are you taking care of mom and, at this stage of her life? What gives you that impetus, if you will, to do that? And it really, if we think about it, all goes back to recognizing what our values and our beliefs are. So I'm going to talk a little bit about values and beliefs this morning. So values are those things that are just really important to us, right? Love, friendship, family, friends. You can come up with the word that's really important for you. What is that one or two things that it's just part of who you are? Your compassion, your empathy, all of those things are values that we have learned over time. Our values can change over time. What we valued when we were 20 might be very different than what we value now, right? I think in my 20s, I probably valued, money, probably, because that's what, the culture tells you. If to be successful, you're going to make money, right? And so for a while in your life, that might be a value. But now, many, many, many decades later, that's not a value at all. In fact, I've gone backwards as far as how much money I make. So we've gone this way instead, right? So I want to be really clear here that people often think that they have the same values their whole life, and I don't believe that that's true. So your values today might be very different. And they really are created out of our life experiences and things that may or may or not have happened to us, right? So, and then we have beliefs, right? And some of us have religious beliefs. Some of us have some spiritual practices and spiritual beliefs. Some of us don't. Some of us have cultural beliefs that impact our day and impact what we do and impact our meaning in our life. And all of those are truth, right? All of those are true. So even though I'm a pastor, I very much believe that we are all spiritual beings. That is the core of who we are. It is the absolute core of that is me. And so it's really, I think, important, especially as we get older, to be able to reflect on those and to know what those are for ourselves, because it can really impact what we do or impact how we see the world. So I want you, for just a couple of seconds here, I want you to have one value come to mind in your head, okay? So I want you to think about what is the one thing that it's a foundation. It's non-negotiable. It's something that is really, really important to you. And somebody, if you're willing to share, just to yell them out for me. Family. Loyalty. Love. Kindness. Integrity. Community. Yeah. Awesome. Those are values, and those are what creates the foundation for us in our lives. If we use that value that you just have in your head or that you just told me, in making our decisions in life, whether it be work decisions or care decisions, or just what are we going to do today or this week decisions, it could really impact how we make those decisions. Does it stand in integrity? Is it compassionate? Is it kind? Does it include community or family? And sometimes that can really help clarify for us what we should do next, what that next step might be. How should we care for mom? What's important? What's important to mom, but what's also important to me as a caregiver? How do I show up to work to take care of these lovely individuals that they themselves are just so important to care for? But how do I care for myself too? How do I take care of me? And do I have any beliefs that are going to impact that at all? So I think it's a really important thing to remember is our values and beliefs just are really what drive us, right? They're going to drive what we do or what we don't do as well. So if you think about giving care, what are those values? For those of you who are caregivers, what are those values that keep you going every day on those hard days where it's really hard to take care of stubborn mom, right? I've been there. Like, why do you still do that? Why do you show up to take care of mom when moms can be really not very nice sometimes? Compassion. Obligation. Yeah. What is it? Respect. Yes. Yeah. So all of those are it's really important to kind of figure out what that is for you. And, obligation, can that be a positive? I think that can be a positive word as well and I think that goes right along with respect, right? We have relationships in our lives that are really important to honor. So I think, if we can think about that, I think that is great. So I wanted to just show you some examples. I have lots of examples in my life, and I know that you do too. So I have a great neighbor, lives right next door to me, and she used to walk incessantly. Like she walk, several times a day, all around the neighborhood. And her children and her grandchildren would often come over many times during the week and go on walks with her, which I thought was just great, right? And she loved that. She absolutely loved it. Well, then she fell and she broke her hip. And she ended up in rehab, and she didn't quite really come back to the same level that she was before. She's now like 84. And so she doesn't walk as much, definitely not the same long distances. And what happened was her children and her grandchildren stopped coming, right? Okay, so her meaning, her purpose, her love in life has been taken away from her. And so what she did, which I love her, she's just great. She says, well, if they're not going to come to me, I'm going to get them on the phone. Because what she loved to do is to tell the stories of her life. Right? She told all the stories of how she grew up, what she did for a living, all of those things, how her marriage to her husband was, and all of those wonderful memories. Well, she didn't want to stop doing that. So she set up Zoom calls twice a week with all of her children and grandchildren, and if they didn't show up, they were in trouble. But that continued to give her, just meaning and purpose in her life, right? She could still do those things. She just can't walk quite as far. But she found a way to continue what was important to her in order to have meaning and purpose in her life. So I love her. She's a great example of that. I have a really good friend that's a retired teacher, taught in Aurora Public Schools forever. And her favorite thing to do is to teach people to read. And she was really good at it. Well, she retired. And what do I do with myself? I don't know what to do. So she still today tutors people in reading 3 days a week. And because teaching, not only the teaching was important, but reading was a fundamental value for her, and that's why it was so important to her throughout her whole life. So she found a way of being able to still do that and find meaning and purpose. And I know that some of you caregivers, right, continue sometimes day after day with all the compassion and the empathy and the things like that you offer. And I just encourage you to make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well and to find your meaning and purpose, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, even if you have to just take that time and walk away and do something that is good for you. And living out your meaning and purpose doesn't always have to be big. It can be little. It can be a smile. It can be a thank you note. It can be a phone call to somebody. Something that gives you meaning and purpose is really important, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. So how do we do this in life? You tell your stories. You share your life stories with people. It's really important. You've heard a lot of stories this morning already. It's how we connect, and it's how you can connect with others. You can create rituals, things that are really important to you. Maybe a cup of tea in the morning while you watch the sunrise can give a lot of meaning and purpose to somebody's life. Stay connected to joy. Joy, like music and art and nature, those are not extras. Those are not like special things that we should be doing. Those are things we should be doing every single day. And we make connection to those so that we have joy in our lives. And for all the caregivers, I don't want you to forget about yourselves. I want you to take care of yourself and do something for you. So our values and our beliefs are not diminished by age or our circumstances or what we can and cannot do anymore. We all have them. And so I honor that, and I want everybody here to honor that for yourself, but whoever you might be caregiving for, remembering that they still have meaning and they still have purpose in life. And we can find those areas when we can connect with them around their values and their beliefs. So I have one question for you to send you home, not as homework, but for something for you to reflect on. What might one value be for you to carry forward? And how might you live it out today or share it today with someone else? So I give you that to just think about as you go forward today, is being able to share that with somebody. So I want to offer a blessing this morning to all of you. Even when our hands and bodies can no longer do all they once did, our hearts can still bless, our words can still build up, and our presence can still shine light. So I thank you for the privilege of being here today, and may you walk in this meaning, may you live in your deepest values, and may you find joy and purpose in everything that you do. Thanks so much.